Hey guys, welcome back. Oh, some shook. See, this is what happens when you're a double A cup. You get so excited with like the little bit of movement that you have. But that's not what I'm talking about. So for anybody who doesn't know by now, which you should, but if you don't, I'm gonna tell you, I have a novel coming out in 2020 called Sprint Dreams. And it's just the story of a collegiate athlete trying to succeed and just screwing up along the way. Because I know a lot of us can feel that way. But so this is part one. Why do I keep doing that? Part one of my series about how I wrote the novel Sprint Dreams, because anyone who has attempted to write a novel knows it is very difficult. So here were my first steps to doing it. So I've always wanted to write, even from a little kid. Some people were playing computer games as kids. I was on Microsoft Word writing semi-quasi chapter stories. And I've always wanted to write a story about track and field. And in fact, the idea of this story came about, I would say, 2015. But between grad school, between training, teaching, and just personal issues, it just did not happen. And at first I thought, okay, well, maybe that's just not what I was meant to do. But I realized some of the things that happened in my life happened for a reason and led me to the position that I am in now, where I was able to write this book. So 2 years later, I decided while I'm in Jamaica, I was on there for like a week, I was gonna start my outline. And it's the same basic outline that you guys had when you were a kid, you know, the Roman numerals, and then letters, and numbers, and some. And this is where I wrote it. So this is the start of Sprint Dreams right here. Hopefully one day this might even be in a museum, so take a good look at it. You just don't want to open it because, to be honest, it is nothing but chicken scratch. Absolute chicken scratch. You would not be able to read any of this if you were not me. But this is where it started. This is where the general concept of Sprint Dreams came. Funny thing, my story now has nothing to do with this outline. Some of the concepts are still there. There's tension on the team, tension between coaches and athletes. There's stress regarding training, things of that nature. But for the most part, this outline and the end result, two different things, which is fine. What some people who want to start a novel don't want to accept, or maybe don't know, is that between all of the edits that you go through, by the end, your book is going to be very different from your original. And as long as you stay open-minded to that, you're doing great. Let me tell you the first way that my outline completely got derailed into something else. I actually have to thank James Corden, you know, the guy who does all the singing in the cars with the celebrities. I had to thank him for that. Because in his book, May I Have Your Attention Please, that's his autobiography, really funny. I like the way it's organized, so check it out. The way he created one of his famous sitcoms that he had for a couple of years, or comedy show sitcoms, I don't know the difference, is that he actually sat down with a friend and wrote out the characters first, not the storyline, the characters. And I thought to myself, that is a good idea, because to be honest, track and field doesn't have a lot of action, a lot of like physical, I don't know what that was, but it is very character driven. I mean, there's so many different personalities on the team because the team is so big. So I thought, okay, well, let me focus on the characters. So here is some more chicken scratch of me outlining different characters in the book. This will probably not be in a museum because I will probably trash these at some point. But this is where the outline first changed, is that once I really got to flesh out the characters, the story started to write itself, and characters who were protagonists became antagonists and vice versa. Some characters I ended up combining, some became two different people. So as I created these characters and as I really brought them to life, the story started to write itself, and it wrote itself differently from my original future museum piece outline. Regardless on how you start your story, whether it's on museum-worthy notebooks or chicken scratch, or whether you start from the end. Some people start their stories from the end and then work their way there. I know Stephen King, or at least I learned that Stephen King actually writes his story along. So as the reader is trying to figure out, well, what's gonna happen next, he's thinking the exact same thing. J.K. Rowling wrote her story on napkins. She probably did some other official writing too, but some of her story was written on napkins. For me, Faith Dismuke personally, because I want to be on that list of big author names one day, I wrote mine in an outline. I am very, traditional. I had an idea of how I wanted the story to end, which, by the way, totally different ending. But I had an idea of how I wanted my story to start, how I wanted it to end, and that's where I went. Again, didn't happen that way, but I'm very happy for how it turned out. Go on my website so you can see the first chapter, the first official cleaned up chapter, and follow along with how Sprint Dreams came to be, because I'm so excited to have started this book, whether it was on my notebook or just in my head. As long as you sit down and start, you are going somewhere.